Moses knew nothing about Judaism. You heard me right. Historically speaking, Moses wouldn't have known anything about Judaism, and in this video, I'm gonna tell you why. Judaism, as we know it, isn't just about the stories in the Torah. It's a complex religion with rituals, laws, traditions, and texts that were developed over hundreds, even thousands of years. But historically, the religion we call Judaism didn't fully form until much later. Scholars argue that Judaism as a distinct, organized religion didn't emerge until after the Babylonian exile, around the 6th century BCE. That's several centuries after Moses' supposed lifetime, which historians estimate to be sometime between the 14th and 13th century BCE, if he even existed at all. Some other scholars estimate Moses' supposed lifetime to be in the 16th century BCE. In fact, many of the rituals and core beliefs of Judaism, like the written Torah and synagogue-based worship, didn't even exist during Moses' time. The ancient Israelites were more like a loosely organized group of tribes with different local traditions and beliefs. Now, you might be thinking, but didn't Moses introduce the concept of monotheism? Well, here is the thing. Monotheism wasn't unique to the Israelites. The idea of worshipping one god developed slowly over time and wasn't immediately widespread. In fact, the ancient Israelites likely worshipped multiple gods during the time Moses would have lived. Early Israelite religion was heavily influenced by the surrounding Canaanite culture, and there is evidence that they worshipped other gods alongside with Yahweh. The belief in Yahweh as the only God didn't really solidify until centuries later. Now let's talk about the Torah, the central text of Judaism, which includes the story of Moses. Scholars believe that the Torah was compiled and written over centuries from different sources and wasn't finalized until around the 4th or 3rd century BCE. That means that the Torah we have today likely didn't even exist during Moses' lifetime. It was actually written after more than 900 or even 1,000 years after Moses' supposed lifetime. Instead, it was a collection of oral traditions and stories passed down through generations for about 1,000 years before being written down and compiled into a single text. And it was heavily influenced by the religion, politics, and beliefs of the communities where the Israelites and the writers of the Torah lived during those 1,000 years. So Moses himself wouldn't have had access to what we think of as the Torah or the laws and practices of Judaism today. Moses likely wouldn't have heard of a religion called Judaism. What's more, the version of the Moses story we know was probably shaped by later scribes and priests who were influenced by the social and political context of their time long after Moses. So if Moses didn't follow Judaism as we know it, what did he believe? For many scholars, Moses is more of a legendary figure than a historical one. If he did exist, he would have been preaching a form of monotheism that long preceded the current form of Judaism. Moses has been a powerful symbol. He's still one of the most important figures in Jewish and Islamic traditions. His story carries deep spiritual and moral lessons. But it's also important to recognize that religions evolve. Judaism, like many other religions, has grown and adapted over time. The story of Moses in the Jewish faith might have been shaped by later traditions and might have its historical inaccuracies, but that doesn't lessen its impact on Jewish faith and culture. What is more important is that those symbolic stories should promote peace, coexistence, and equality rather than being used to incite war, violence, and racism.